what is your main area of practice?
I'm Lori Miller, and the main area evolves over time, but it's all fire related. It started out as fire performing, and now it's evolving to a whole other, to fire art installations and art cars with flame effects. So it's a bit of a passion for fire.
So what sparked your passion for fire, and what is unique about your methods?
In 1998, I went to this festival called the Burning Man Festival in Nevada for the first time. The fire performers back then had a real ritual. It wasn't really a performance. They spent the whole week together. They rehearsed, and the night of when the man burns on the Saturday night at Burning Man, they perform under it. And the day they performed, they had clay from the earth. Their entire bodies were painted in gray clay. I'd never seen fire performers before, and I was like, oh, what is that? And I want to do that. And we came back to Canada, and there wasn't even email back then. There were some listservs and on websites, but there wasn't any way to get a hold of people, and there wasn't anywhere to purchase fire performance things. So it sparked a whole new path in my artistic life.
How did you find sort of an arts community here in the Comox Valley and kind of carving your place to perform and to practice your art form?
I've been here 13 years. So when we came back from Burning Man, and I was in Vancouver at the time, I ended up starting a business because you couldn't buy fire performance stuff. So I found a place to buy, or tools to build your own tools. There's Kevlar that you use to make the fire tools with. I started purchasing large quantities of Kevlar and ended up creating a business and selling it online. Having that business and performing at festivals and selling product, I met the Comox Valley fire people who were here before I moved here. When I moved here, I was pregnant, and I had a successful online business, and I couldn't do both. I couldn't do the family and the business, and the local fire performance community wasn't really up yet, wasn't happening. And I ended up selling my business, being mom for a while. And the fire went on a back shelf. As my kids grew up here, a friend of mine who purchased my business, and I had some life challenges and went through some changes, she wasn't doing the business anymore, and she gave it back to me for free. And the online world is different, so I didn't end up doing that. Those were over. Those days were over. And what is my new role in the fire performance world and here in the Valley? And it's still growing here. In Vancouver, I kept alive a weekly jam at Trout Lake, and the performance troupe that we would bring down to Burning Man, we would do one live lit run at the Lantern Festival at Trout Lake every year before we took our show to Burning Man. I tried to do that here in the Valley when I came, to set up weekly jams, and now as the years go on, more people are moving from the city, more flow artists are coming here, we have the technology to stay connected and communicate with each other. And still, for some reason in the Valley, the weekly jams, they're not happening the way they did in the city. But people keep trying, and the flow community here is still here. We leave to go to festivals and to shows and perform, but that grassroots jam community, it's changed now. From 1998 to now, it's more people are jamming elsewhere. They're not all in the same spot. Everyone's busy, they're online, they're traveling. So it's evolving.
Could you tell us a little bit about some of your favorite experiences that this whole art with fire has kind of brought you to?
An organic food supplier, they had a Christmas party, and they wanted to hire us to do the show. We couldn't do fire inside the Vancouver Art Gallery, which was where their party was at. So we had to get creative, and I used these, they were called cannons, I believe. We rented these ginormous lights. They're UV black light, giant black lights called cannons. They would light up the whole Vancouver Art Gallery with blacklight. And so we had a blacklight show where we had blacklight body paint, black UV responsive fabrics of costumes that we were made. And we have these giant flags that are blacklight flags, and artists full body painted, and they would serve jello shooters. And so it forced us to get like creative. Okay, we can't do fire inside. What are we going to do? And that was a bit of a highlight. That was a really fun gig. Seeing the changes of the community over so many years, and the whole flow community. It's now flow community. It's not just fire. People will have their whole gear bag with fire and juggling and hula hoops and glow and fiber optic whips, and it's changing the whole artistic creativity from fire to all glowy type performing things you can perform with. The business side of things has changed for selling stuff to people. They go online and buy it directly. We'll buy the fiber whips from the whip person and the hoops from the hoop person, and they'll show up at the festival with all their stuff. So selling stuff to people at festivals has changed. That it's evolved because people want it now, and they're going to buy it on Amazon.
Right. Yeah.
What I like about the artistic creativity, it sparks more need to get more creative about where is this going to go. There's fire bans in the summer, so we can't perform with our fire. It's because of forest fires, and so how about this glow? And the glow tools are really expensive and really high quality for their performer level glow toys. They're not just glow sticks. It's created a whole new stream of what performers can use with fire or glow, and to try and find the same effect. It's not the same, but it's still a cool visual and can provide ambiance to somebody's event, inside, outside, and not have toxic fumes or light things on fire, and insurance. And so it's opened up a whole new avenue for performers or for artists to be a part of this flow community, which is not just fire anymore.
What is it about performing that keeps you hooked, that keeps you motivated to keep seeking out opportunities to entertain people?
That's changed a bit too, because I'm older now, and so I don't really think, with my experience, when I'm going to do two things now where I am now in the community, is I'm more of the curator or the producer, and a lot of local events. I'm the perimeter lead, and I organize volunteers who are in charge of the perimeter to keep the audience safe from the fire show and fire safety in the background. I have so much experience from so many years of fire that I tend to be more the professional, the backstage, and more production level than up front in the performance. And the original intent of how I got into it was never about look at me performing. It was always about, I'm just going to play while the DJ is playing, and I just want to play with this art, and we're just in it together, and I'm not performing for you to watch me. And it's always been like that for me for my whole process. Yet when you're spinning fire, people are watching you. So it's like, oh, what? And then I had to get creative in producing shows that are for the client has requested a certain need in their performance, and so create that with other performers doing the show, not me. But now older, and in the Valley, with not a lot of huge opportunities for large shows, there's no Vancouver Art Gallery canon gigs yet. Maybe that's coming, who knows? But it's more somebody just turned 40 and 50, or it's a birthday party, and we'll go spin fire for fun for them. And at the festivals, it seems like performers or musicians bring their performers with them. They might have a hooper or a flow artist on stage while they're DJing, but to actually get hired to bring a produced show, those opportunities aren't here. And so it's more casual, more back to the roots of let's celebrate life and the life of, and the fire, the passion for this flame and fire, water, air. It's a fundamental element in our lives, and people are fascinated with it, and they don't tend to need the show. Sharing this experience on a more intimate level with people here, it feels like that's how it is here in the Valley, for my experience anyways. Yeah.
Is there anything you'd suggest for people in the Comox Valley that that are interested in this, and they kind of, I wouldn't know where to start if I wanted to start throwing some fire around and doing these really cool things, like anyone or anywhere they could maybe reach out to just start?
There's some Facebook groups of flow artists in Victoria, Nanaimo, and here, and Cumberland, Cumberland. So there's a little bit, there's activity there, but there's so much online with YouTube now. There are people teaching at the Abbey. I think there's a fan workshop, so she's specific on fire fans, or non-fire even, but tossing and juggling, and really cool at the Abbey. So somebody is teaching locally. Nick Woolsey, he's got everything online. You can join his lessons and his workshops online. He gives a lot away for free. He does reviews on the newest and latest tools that are out there. He comes to Lasquita Island every summer. There's retreats all over the world. I believe he's in Costa Rica for a couple of months right now, so you could go all the way to Costa Rica to learn how to spin poi. And Lasquita Island for 2 weeks in June. It's a gift from heaven that he's still doing it, and it's a beautiful island to get to learn on. I'm looking at a stream that helps with elderly who spin poi. It helps with balance, memory. So there's a whole program of taking poi, even chair poi, for the elderly that can't really stand. They can still spin and do the movements and keep their bodies moving. So there's this whole poi for the elderly in old age homes. That's a stream that I'm looking at now for the future. Because people are just finding it online on them. So they're not signing up for workshops so much. And the festivals, like there's usually always a flow zone, but now I guess Atmosphere, it's or Cumberland Wild is called now. There's not necessarily a flow zone because everyone's flowing wherever. So, but I'm seeing more Burning Man type people who've been to Burning Man coming to local festivals as well. So they bring that with them. They show up with their tool bag and they share with other people. And so it's here, it's at festivals, but it's more informal.
In your opinion, what is the toughest part and the most rewarding part of living as an artist?
The toughest, the finances, always. It seems to be the same for all forms of art. Over 22 years, the price to pay a fire performer at your event is the same price. It hasn't changed. That's a consistent answer with people we've been interviewing. Yeah.
It's really important.
It doesn't change.
Because it's like such a beautiful thing.
It has 20 years. There's no increase in the rate, but it's a passion, and when you're doing something that is your passion, you get paid in different ways, and there's hidden blessings. It's a lifetime learning what the gift of being an artist actually is. The biggest lesson that I'm learning over 22 years looking back is always stay open. Stay open to what you're going to be learning next, or what's coming next, or this was what it was before. Who knows what it's going to be next? And that's the biggest gift of art that I'm feeling like I've received is just the constant reminder to stay open. Who knows what's coming next? And the world is your oyster, and that's what art's brought to me, is to look outside of what you're seeing right now. There's more.
What are you working on right now? What are you focused on now artistically?
Yeah, so there's the coming up with other ideas of how to share the art form and help people in their healing. And as I'm aging, I want to help people with their healing path as well. So I'm grateful to see that I can use an art form that I've used in the past as a healing tool for people aging. That's really cool. The Burning Man Festival I've been to 12 times now over 22 years, and we used to bring our performance down and perform under the man. And then now I've worked on backstage for the large shows. They'll bring me in to do their backstage because they know that I've got it and they can trust me. And the shows are big now. The performers are pushing themselves. There's 30 fire artists for a troupe out of Vancouver called Mythmaker, and they brought me down to do their backstage two burns ago. The turnover, the performers they'll perform with one tool. They put that out, they come back and they need it dipped and have their next tool dipped, and they go out with the next tool, and then they put that out and they come back, and then there's a giant art installation that 10 people are holding, and it's got ropes that are flaming, and it's just the performers are pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. So they need backstage who really understand what they need to help them do the show that they're going to do. So I think what's happened is I've become more of a help the performers do their thing. Last year and then coming up at Burning Man, it's called the Fire Conclave, where troops come. Last year was 33 troops from all around the world. They submit videos to get approved to be under the man the night of the burn. They perform under. There's 70,000 people watching, so around the man, sitting watching, and then 30 troops that can be from 10 people to 50 people in their troop under the man, all performing their videos the night before the man blows up. There's an organization at Burning Man called the Fire Conclave that organizes all of that, and now I work for the Fire Conclave. So now I'm working in a different level, and it's an honor, and it's also not paid.
Yeah, it comes back to that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, you get a free ticket, but
Yeah.
you have to work.
Do you have any influences, artistic influences, or people you'd like to just give a shout out to? I've just been asking that to everyone.
When I arrived here, there was a group called Nova, and they welcomed me in, and yeah, we're still friends today, and none of us really perform, but we can in a pinch. And then there's the new ones coming in. The people I performed with at Burning Man have now moved to the Valley, and they're here and teaching workshops. I don't remember the name. I think it's called Ignitia Fire, is a new troupe that's in town. And so yay for the new troops coming in and giving it a try to get community going again, and teach and share their knowledge and push to another level of a higher performance level in their shows and costumes. And there's still the groups that are pushing the envelope and pushing performers to take it to another level, and that's happening here in the Valley. So yay, guys.
That's awesome. Can you think of any ways we as an audience and younger artists can support these art forms that maybe aren't always noticed, or we don't really know how we can make sure that they're staying alive and going?
Yeah, how can we get the youth to focus on one night a week? You can do it, you come or you can't, but every week there's a jam and a place for us to share our tools. You can try each other's tools, we can teach each other tricks and share back to the grassroots. Would love to see that happen again.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if the youth can just keep it going, keep the heart of it going, then who knows what will happen.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about your journey and your story, or just about your art in general?
You've sparked something in me now that I hadn't thought of. It's the elders. I'm a 22-year burner working for 35-year burners who want to pass it down. We want to pass this down. There's 5 staff. There's more staff at my level at the event, but there's 5 all year round staff working for Burning Man on fire. We keep wanting to pass it on to the next generation and let them do the work so that we can just watch. But there's been a lot of discussion about how do we do that? Like, how can we pass the passion, the knowledge and the passion back to the next generation? And it's the safety that is key, that we want to pass that knowledge, but it comes from experience. So working on a huge show, a huge performance at Burning Man with 30 troops, hundreds of fire performers lit at the same time, a lot can go wrong. And so there's a lot, you don't have experience working on that set unless you're actually working on that set. I've worked through like, why am I still doing this? I'm still doing this because I haven't passed the knowledge on yet. I'm still here to share. Yeah, I'm curious to see where that's going to go.
Yeah, well, I think hopefully this practice podcast can maybe play a role in that, and we can help get all our resources together and keep all these different art forms going.
Yeah, we do have like, I do have a small group called Cumberland Community Fire Spinners in Cumberland, which the Lantern Festival, when it does happen, we tend to do a little fire show there. And it's not a performance troupe. It's not, you don't have to rehearse with us. It's an open for anybody to join. It's not active unless there's a gig that comes up, and then we post saying, does anybody want to join? And all levels are welcome. Anyone's welcome. You don't have to sign up for anything or join. So I'd like to see that that's a place where it's open and more community focused. Yeah. So hopefully that stays alive and maybe gets momentum.
Well, thank you so much for allowing us to peek into a creative process, and we really appreciate your time and energy, and we're so happy to share your work and your art with the world. So thanks for joining us for today's interview with Lori, and we'll see you next time, or see you around.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.